Hey folks, good morning and thanks for taking time out to come and attend our session. My name is Krishnan. I'm the CEO at Geektrust. I'll give you a short 5-minute overview about Geektrust and why we are doing this session, post which I'll hand it over to Dhanush, my friend and CTO. He will take over from here and get into the nitty-gritties of the session itself. Okay. So quick overview about us. From me personally, I started my career as a developer. I joined Tech Mahindra back in the day, long time ago. Then for 10 years, I worked at ThoughtWorks. So I was head of delivery for ThoughtWorks before I left, and then started Geektrust with 7 years ago. And the idea behind Geektrust was very simple: allow developers to express themselves in code rather than their resumes. And based on this code, help them find interesting opportunities. So what you'll discover is, in the hiring space, a lot of companies look at the resume and try and judge you as a person, right? Whether you would be a good fit or not. What we are trying to do is we're trying to break that. We're trying to say, hey, it doesn't matter where this person studied. It doesn't matter where this person is working today. Show us the skills. Because we genuinely believe there's a lot of really good, talented developers out there whose skills, far exceed what they're able to show in their resume. And Geektrust is a platform for that. Now, when you think about, when you say showcase your code, what does that mean, right? How can I showcase my code? Is it about getting the output correct, right? Is it about completing a code really, really fast? So this is where we brainstormed, we introspected, and we figured out, in the 17, 18 years that we have been in tech, what really matters in the real world is when you join. I think many of you can attest to this. When you join a real company, when you start working, you will work off a code base that somebody else has already written. 90%, 95%, maybe even 99% of the cases, this is what happens. You'll take a code base somebody else has written. You will need to add features to it, build something new to it. You will need to refactor it. And hopefully, the goal is you leave it in a better place than you found it. So in the real world, what really matters is, can you understand code? Can you debug it? And most importantly, can you write code that others can understand? Whichever company you're working at, end of the day, this is probably the most important thing that matters. One of the examples that I talk about is when Flipkart started back, maybe 10, 15 years ago. Flipkart just grew significantly, right? And I used to think, why can't a Reliance or a Tata or somebody, catch up to them, right? Why? I mean, now I think they're slowly getting there, but why did it take so long? And the reason is this: Flipkart had developers who could write really good code that they could extend, they could change, they could adapt to customer feedback. But if you have code that is hard to understand, unextensible, you just can't adapt quickly. So we narrowed down as this ability to write code which others can read and understand as the main criteria for developers to showcase their skills. Fortunately for us, industry stalwarts like Martin Fowler agree with this, and he in fact terms this code as clean code, almost verbatim. What he says is clean code is code that others can read and understand. So at Geektrust, what we do is we create small, we call it coding challenges, but I think if you have worked on it before, you'll agree that it is sort of like a mini project. And in that, what we are looking for is, we are looking for an ability to write clean code and to showcase your skills. It's not only about getting the output. I think output getting is not hard. Our problems are not necessarily complex, but it is about showcasing how well you write clean code. The challenge has been that I think there's a lot of mystery shrouded in what is clean code, and hence we do these sessions. Right? We have documentation as well which talks about clean code, but this session also we'll talk in depth about clean code. There's no magic here. It's not like really hard to do. So we'll talk about some of those aspects in Dhanush's session. Before I hand it over to Dhanush, I also want to quickly tell you what is the industry acceptance of clean code. Today, more than ever, a lot of companies are really looking at, can you write clean code? When we started Geektrust 7 years ago, we probably were working with about maybe 10 startups, right? And all of them were like with less than 20 people in the company. Today, we're working with 100 plus companies and large enterprises like your Intuits of the world, like your TCSs, Accenture, ThoughtWorks. All these companies agree that clean code is a really, really important factor. And hence, sort of a validation of what we have done over the last few years. That's the intro I wanted to give. We have been around for 7 years. We have about 100 odd clients actively hiring through us, close to 1 lakh developers who are registered with us. That's overall who we are and why clean code is important for us. I'll end with an anecdote. Uh, Recently, one of our clients, they're an AI startup. Uh, they were looking for a junior developer for a role. Okay. And they just could not find the right person for whatever reason. And finally, we sent them a developer. His code was really good, but his background was that he was working as a coffee salesman. He was working as a coffee salesman in Kotas Coffee, but the guy was just really, really passionate about writing code. He came upon Geektrust, he wrote code, he showcased his skills. Based on that, he's now working as a developer in an AI startup. So that's the power of what code can do for all of us, right? It just unlocks more opportunities and really unlocks your potential. So I won't speak anymore. I will hand it over to Dhanush now. Dhanush is CTO at Geektrust, and he and I are friends and have been roommates. We have known each other for about almost, I think, 18 years now. So Dhanush, over to you to take over from here.
Thanks, Krishnan. Hey, welcome to the session, folks. Like Krishnan said, I take care of all things tech at Geektrust. So how I have planned this session is, we will do a part. I'll take you through a set of slides which explains how to write clean code, and then we'll do a small demo where in which I can showcase you a really bad code and then how to improve it. Not syntactically correct, but how to extract things out of it, refactor it, and then put it in a better way. But that probably will not be a full-fledged working solution, but I can guide you to that. So let's start with the session first. Let me share my screen. Right. Okay, I hope all of you guys can see this. So what is clean code, right? Like Krishnan mentioned in his intro, um, clean code is nothing but a code which any developer can understand and read and easily adapt and change, right? So that is just what clean code is. Um, so like he said, many a times we all not do work which is ground up work. Like we all not all, everyone gets an opportunity to work on greenfield projects or things like that. So many a times you work on what somebody else has done. So you try to write code which people can understand, people can collaborate and then work on it. So that's what clean code is. Now we'll see uh, why why is it important for clean code to be there? Because we can we can easily make changes. So if there's a bug, the bug fixes are easier to do. Anybody can work on it. They can just read through the code and understand what is happening there and then fix it. You don't need elaborate documentations or comments around the methods uh, to say that what this piece of code is exactly doing. Um, Now let's come to the most important part of how to write the clean code, right? One of the main things is use meaningful names, right? For variables, classes, and functions. Doesn't make sense to have you know variables defined like x1, x2, x3 when they are like really there are really meaningful names. Like for example, if you want to add two numbers, or let's take the classical example of calculating area. For a square it is length into breadth, right? Sorry, for a rectangle it's length into breadth. So you, instead of naming the variables a1 and a2, you can just name it as length and breadth, right? So it's crystal clear. The second point where you say that you should avoid magic numbers. Magic numbers are nothing but constants which are written in the code, in a hard coded way, right? Where you have um, you know uh, you have checks like if I have an example coming up in the session slide itself, so I'll go through that. You have checks like if x equal to 1, x equal to things like that. So in that case, what is 1 and what is 2? So we need to move out those things into a separate file and make it constants and things like that. And extract conditional statements into variables. So if the conditional statements are like too huge, it doesn't make sense to have everything in that one if condition. It's better to make it as a method and then probably return a boolean value and then uh, check for that boolean value. So this is one example which I have put up, where you say that if p dot length greater than 4 and p dot length less than 16, handle click. You have no idea what 4 and 16 is, right? Somebody looking at this code doesn't understand what is 4 and 16. Obviously it is looking at some sort of length, but what exactly it is basically the password size, right? We can have uh, password restrictions when you enter for sign up. So this is a check for whether it is a valid password. So how do you rewrite this code? You first of all you add two constants which says password size, min password size and max password size, and then you write a method called is valid password, which will look for that length, and then you use is valid password in the um, in the if condition. So in this case, we covered the magic numbers, if conditions, and coming up with meaningful names for functions, right? Uh, let's look at another one. Now, this is like this is a big function where people are asked to filter out users based on name or email or role. So essentially, you are doing a lot of filtering and then just returning it. At the end of the day, the code looks very cumbersome, right? There are too many filters. You don't know what exactly is happening. It's simply a complex code. So how do you modify that? You can refactor it to something like this, where we use the languages functional syntax functionality like includes to filter out the users and have a better and simpler approach to the solution rather than having a complex function like this, right? So so try to simplify things is also a better way to do uh, clean code. So try to uh, break down the complex tasks inside a method to simpler um, methods. Now, in addition to that, your code should also be modular, which means that it's structurally in a better way, whether enough separation of concerns. So typically, if you work in a three-layer service architecture, you have this view model controller or view model service data sort of a separation, uh, where you structure the code into different layers and components. So that is typically a good way of uh, having it, organizing the code. And once you do that, you can have it in different ways, right? So for example, on the left hand side you can see that uh, all the code is organized in a stack model where the entities are together, the controllers are together, the models are together, the repositories are together, the services are together. Whereas on the right hand side it's called entity style, where the everything around one functionality is uh, grouped together, right? So in such a case, the refactoring becoming easier, whereas in the left hand side, it is little more difficult. But whereas on the left hand side, if you want to expose out all the entities, it is easier. On the right hand side, if you want to expose all the entities, it's not really easy. You will have to expose the whole package from a higher level. So these are the trade-offs. So it depends upon your project, what you are going to do. You will have to organize in a different way. Um, the next one, inside the modularity part, is where we cover single responsibility principle, which means that essentially, whatever uh, whatever class or whatever domain model you are coming up with, it should just do only one thing, which it represents, right? Now, if you look at this code, this is a class book. It has a title, it has an author, it has something to turn page, it has something which is called as print current page. Now, print printing a book is not at all related to a book class. Uh, it is it is not books functionality, right? It is someone else's functionality. It's, for example, it's a printer's functionality, right? So what do we do? We remove uh, print current page out of it, and then we introduce something called as a printer. Maybe we can call it as plain text. Using a printer interface, we can call it as a plain text printer or HTML printer or whatever. Doesn't matter. And we delegate that responsibility of printing to that printer class. And then from the book, you can use printer class to actually print the uh, page. So that's how you can actually move it. So essentially, one class should have only one responsibility, and it should do only that, and do that well. Another principle inside clean code is where you don't repeat yourself, right? Which essentially means you are duplicating code. Uh, so if you look at this, there's a sync call which fetches a couple of APIs, and if you see, there is a user response call where we fetch users, which is it is repeated in both functions, in get articles for user and get comments for user. Sorry. So the user response, that is actually duplicated. So what we can do is, not to repeat that, we can pull it out as a separate method as get user, and then use it here inside get articles for user and get comments for user. So that you if how it helps is, if any of these the APIs change or something, you change it only at one place. You don't need to change it at both these places. So so dry code is concise, efficient, and easy to fix. So that's not duplicated. So that's how it should be. And even when you develop many of the IDEs are already giving this feature, where you can just um, see how much of your code is repeated, and then you can just say, you can just clean it up. So yeah, reusability is basically includes all of this. Whether there are reusable components, classes should have appropriate behavior and attributes, uh, should not do not repeat yourself. We should not write the same code everywhere. Better methods and functions to avoid duplicate code. So yeah, So that's all what I had. I will just quickly now go through the problem I want to cover. Um, so this is one of the problems which we have here in Geektrust. It's called MyMoney, where the challenge is there is a investment portfolio, and they the allocation is done in a desired weight of 60 to 30 10% in equity, debt, and gold. And then we take some money, and then every year the interest sorry every month there is a change in rate of interest, and then it can go up and go down. And then at the end of 6 months you have to reallocate it, and then again get it back to the same sorry rebalance it and get it back to the original allocation. So that is a problem. uh, so I can show you let me add this also to my screen. One second. I think now you can see this, right? Yeah. So this is a, solution for that. So you can just increase the font a bit.
Yeah, now we can see it, Dhanush.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is, but the problem is you can't see the full solution. Anyways, um, so this is one of the solutions to that problem, which has everything in one file, right? There is only one single file here. Um, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So there is only this one file here, and the first thing, if you see, look at this file itself is quite long, and what all the issues which I mentioned here is almost there. There is hard coded, uh, you know, values, you know, it's like something like this. Uh, Look at this. What is 6 here? We don't know, right? Uh, we have calculations like this: S1, S2, S3. I don't even know what it is. Uh, there is a compilation regex, which I don't know what exactly this is. So this makes it all the more difficult for the person to understand the code. So how do we do this? This is however this runs though. So that is what I want to show. If I yeah, so if I yeah, so we have it will run, it will execute, and IO also will be correct. It will print the IO, right? But that's not enough. So what we do here first is, if you look at the problem statement, And I suggest you guys go and read it later if you not get. So essentially, there are two things here, two domain objects are here. One is portfolio, and the other one is the fund, right? And fund has an initial amount which you are putting, and then there is a rate change which happens every month, right? Which is here. I'm not considering SIP for now. It's the same, but I'm just parking it away for the interest of time and everything. So if you look at that, the first thing what we need to create is probably split this main.java into a new into multiple files where I will first write portfolio.java, right? And please ignore my this may not be syntactically correct because I'm not an active Java developer. So just ignore the syntax and all. So I've done portfolio. Now the next one is I will create fun.java. Um, so I have created these two classes. Now I know that from the statement here, I know that portfolio consists of funds, right? And it's a very restricted, uh, what do you say, restricted list of funds. So I'm not going to go overboard and declare a list of funds. I will just declare what I have here. So I'll say, and by the way, this is entirely up to me. This is not a just different people do it different way. So uh, so there might be a better way of doing this also. So just FYI. So what I will do is I'll write fund equity uh, and then gold and so I know that this is this one. And maybe what we can do is we can also uh, I will maybe, maybe we can I don't think that's good. Okay, so let's start here. Now what what is done is what is there in fund? Okay, so fund obviously will have a name, uh, which is equity. In this case, equity, debt, and gold, and all. Then what is the first command is allocate, right? So we are allocating this much amount. Right? So we'll just say amount. Okay. Then obviously all the constructors, everything will be there. Um, then what is the next big thing? What is happening in main is um, what are they doing in the method is their first case is allocate money, right? Now to allocate the money, what essentially we have to do is we have to create the fund and set it in the portfolio, right? So what we need to do is okay, fund creation is a creation of that instance that can be done using constructors. In portfolio, we need to add that fund, right? So we uh, you know uh, we can add something like okay, something like this, which will take fund and then set one of this, or this can be a constructor which will take all the three funds. So maybe you can just say, fund equity. uh, Something like this. So this is set. Now add fund also is there, whether you want to do the implementation. I'm not doing it now. And now once the allocate money has come, what before this, what I will do is, um, before this, uh, somewhere here itself, I will initialize the portfolio. I know the funds are not yet ready, but we can always use add fund. So instead of this, you can say fund, fund. See what is the um, yeah, it is in that order, right? So the first one will be okay. So, yeah, so there's little small things which I missed out. This is in that order. Allocate, um, says equity amount, debt amount, gold amount, right? So if I split that, uh, so the first one will be, let's say equity is that amount. Mm, let's so yeah. Okay, I'm not much worried about the thing here because it is split by space. Um, so, mm, equity, debt, sorry, debt and gold. So this goes up. Two, three. Okay. So from these lines, we will get the split instruction. So instruction, first one is, oh, sorry, it's instruction. Sorry. The first instruction is the command, which is allocate, and the rest of it is the amount. So we created these two things. Now, sorry, this is not required here. Uh, Now what I do here is, so I'll create the portfolio and then equity, I'll pass these to them, right? So this is now my portfolio and the fund is set, right? So I have two classes, fund is set, but two classes still there is no behavior yet, right? Um, SIP I'm ignoring for now. We'll do it. I mean, once you figure this out, it's not a big deal to do the SIP. Uh, so this is done. Now on allocate, I'm creating the portfolio and my fund. All is done. Now the next command is change, where change command receives monthly rate of change for each fund type, and you need to calculate the amount, right? So now the fund has amount here, right? Um, Now you can, if you, it's up to you again here whether you want to calculate this on the same fund, sorry, on the same amount, or you want to keep something like an interest or something here, right? So that you can still keep the original amount there, right? This is up to you. Uh, but since if you need to give more granularity into how your total thing is, um, so you can just maybe you can split it into investment amount, and maybe uh, this is the original investment amount, and this is the current value. But I'm not going to all, sorry, uh, this can be the current value which you calculate based on the investment amount plus whatever the interest is, right? Either ways, it's up to you, but I'm just going back to the original, since we started off with amount. uh, these things happens when you write the code. Get into coding, you realize, okay, this could be done better. So for now I'm just reverting it back to the original way in which now the main thing, change gains, right? So the method fund does, you know uh, I'll add a class, right? um, what is the change command, receive a monthly rate of change each time. Okay, okay. So uh, so what do we do here is we need to add a method, um, update value. Let's say, or it can be just update, or uh, naming is always hard. So that's the biggest problem. So I'll just do update value, and this will take the rate of interest, and uh, amount equals to amount plus amount into whatever the whatever the formula you write here, and then set the amount, right? And since we won't be writing any getters here, you can actually give this back also, the value. So this can be changed to, so now we have a now we have a sorry, now we have a method or behavior which will update the value based on the changes, or change gain based on the gains, right? Now the problem is we have added only at fund level. How does the portfolio know that it should add all the update all the funds, right? So for that, uh, we will need to have something like update here, update portfolio, and again passing the rate of interest, and then in this. So this also can be list of funds. Okay, it is up to you how you want to manage it. It's I'm not. This can be like this also. So then, if it's list of funds, then you can do a for loop, or you can just do you know in this case it will be 50 dot update value. Okay. Uh, now now at this moment, uh, we don't have the problem here is one issue here I am seeing right now is we won't have an instance of portfolio. Portfolio is instance created here at this local scope. How do we get the portfolio at this level? We can either move this up here, and then create a uh, instance here and then add the funds later. That's one way. Or This is one way. Or you have a singleton class and then have a static method which will always return your instance. But for the time being, we'll do this. Now I have a portfolio here. I need to update the changes, right? So in the this instructions, okay, one mistake we did is the yeah, change amount has different yeah this I missed. So this change amount has different rate of interest, so it won't be the same rate of interest. So here we will have to yeah yeah we will have to have different rate of interest. So so what I yeah I now what I'm going to do is I'll do portfolio dot update portfolio of again instructions. Now this the whole this command itself can be done better way. I'm not getting to that. So this is gone. Um, now this will update the portfolio. Similarly, the next task is so the change. The moment read this change command, your portfolio is updated. The portfolio has the updated data now, right? The next command is to print the balance, right? So what should happen is balance receives a month name and it should print the balance for each funds for of on that month. Yeah. So now the biggest mistake we have done so far is we haven't considered the month, right? So that part is what if you see this code here, this person has months here, and then that part is something we missed out, right? So every time when you print, we have to calculate the balance. So then we need a um, you know we need to keep that balance month on month somewhere either in the fund or in the portfolio. So we can actually have that uh, value updated, not here, sorry, and we can actually keep that separate, uh, uh, month-wise value where I can keep a map, and every month because the change happens for every month. You can keep a copy in that thing itself. So it can be string balance. So right, there will be a balance, and then um, so again here we didn't consider the month. Sorry. So again we'll have to make some slight changes where we take in month and then this amount can be put. Um, Now when and then because we want to print the balance also, we can have a, method which has a behavior which is a behavior has balance and it returns. Right? Yeah, so here we'll pass in the change has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5, 4. So for that, so we have the balance. Now in this case, we can actually print the balance of portfolio. So we'll have a, the portfolio. We can do the same thing here, uh, but in a different way. Uh, Balance, which should return. I'm not sure how should it print. Let me see what that out of the output. Yeah, it should print. Output format is print the balance for each fund as is April month. So output format will be equity, debt, gold. Okay, so it's like so you can print. Yeah, so this will print the portfolio will print the total balance, and then each one will give the equity, the specific balance for that fund. This will print it. Right? Um, Now, yeah, the formatting and all, I'm not worried. This will, I mean, I'm not covering that. So now here, what we will do is remove portfolio. We'll make it portfolio dot. Actually, we can rename this to print balance because it's doing a print. Uh, Again, printing can be put into a different class itself. You know, because of the what I mentioned earlier, right? uh, Printing is not portfolio's main function, but for the time being, I'm just putting it here. Um, and then I pass. Now, rebalance is the same thing. It's just that at the end of 6 months you need to do the same rebalance. So again, you will have a probably have a uh, rebalance method here, right? Not here. Rebalance is only done at portfolio level, so it will not be at fund level. There will be method here which will, um, you know, which will do rebalance, and then you implement the logic where that 60-30-10 split is again coming in. So that is all you need. Um, Reallocate. So that it's basically logic, but I'm not getting into that. And in the interest of time, there's only 10 minutes left. So now we see that portfolio we have add fund, we have constructor, we have update portfolio, we have print balance, we have rebalance, and in fund we have update value and balance, right? Which is the bare minimum necessary stuff, and all these things like this should be private and all. I'm not getting into that because that's all, and it is implemented. And I'm not a active Java developer either. So all those things you have to take care of. You know, uh, so this also will change to something like uh, portfolio dot rebalance, right? Something like this it will become. And effectively, now what you do is throw this whole code out, right? Don't need any of this. Right? See, and I actually want to do. little more cleanup here, uh, but this is, I don't think it's required. And we can also do a bit more cleanup on the command thing, where if you can use a command pattern and then this put it in. You can have classes for each commands, and then let that just look up command pattern, and then you can understand. Then make them do these specific tasks instead of in the main class. So if you look at now, that's it. It has become better code which has uh, adequate domain models. I mean, you can have more domain models, no harm in doing it, but this is bare minimum I can come up with in such a short time. If you sit on it, think about it, you can have different things. There can be the whole pattern can be implemented for handling the commands. So that and all is good thing. And yeah, literally there is no need of any other utility functions or service classes or something like that. Database, nothing. Everything you can do with just plain object modeling and domain classes. So identify the domain classes, identify the behavior, sorry, identify the behavior, implement the logic, wire things appropriately, keep about things like single responsibility principle, removing the hard-coded parts, avoiding magic numbers, if-else conditions. If you do that, you can just write clean code. Nothing, there's no magic in that. So this anyway I've marked it. So the whole code became, in just 3 files, it became much more cleaner in a look and not just in look and feel, but in implementation. Look and feel might be bad here because of all the syntax errors, but it's okay. But once you put everything together, it'll look better. Yeah, so that's all I had for the time being. I think we have lots of questions. Krishnan, I'll stop the share. Then how
Yeah, you can stop the share, Dhanush. There are some questions that have come up which I can ask. So thanks for this. So first of all, folks, Dhanush is COVID positive and he's not been keeping well. So we almost canceled this session. He's not been able to sleep and all. So apologies if it seemed a little bit underprepared, because we were a little bit underprepared. Dhanush, some questions coming your way. One question I think I've seen at least 3 times come up is around design patterns. So I guess 2 parts to this question. First part is, you use design patterns, and second part is, how do you use design patterns in solving Geektrust coding challenges?
What is the first question? I didn't...
Where do you use design patterns? Where is it useful? Just broadly. I'm just generalizing some of the things which have come up.
Right. Okay. So where do we use it wherever there are typically solved pattern kind of a thing, right? Like for example, in any of our problems, we take in commands, right? We take in commands and then we act upon it. That's how most of the Geektrust problems are designed. So that's where you can use a design pattern, where you can implement something like a command pattern which will take in the command and work on that command. Uh, uh, in Geektrust problems, it depends. It depends on where you use. This is one place, but there are other places where if you want to create, there's these things called creational patterns, where you want to create a factory of objects based on behaviors or based on input interface implementations. So there you use abstract factory, things like that. Um, when you want a in single instance of your object in the entire in your entire setup, you use singleton. Um, so yeah, so those are the kind of things. So you look up, if you want a book reference, I can give you head first design patterns. That's a very simple, easy to understand book where you can learn about anything in anything in design pattern. And the usage of design pattern will come with more experience. Like you see the same style of coding, same style of repeated patterns coming in. Then you realize, okay, this is the pattern I have to use. So it will automatically fall in place. Is what I feel.
So I'll just repeat the question verbatim that's been asked. Uh, for better code reusability, is design patterns a good thing to do?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And one question which Krishank has is, can you explain the use case where to use which approach? Which I think you have covered that now, right? Based on the command pattern and other things.
Yeah. Is it about design pattern? Then yeah, where to use which approach is
Or entity
uh,
style, he asks.
entity style. Okay, I don't. Okay, I mean, for design patterns, where to use which approach? It is essentially depends upon the state in which you want to use it. So that's what I said. There are different styles of patterns, creational, behavioral, and one more forgot. State, I think, whatever. So based on that, you use that. Um, Entity style, I think. I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember what it is.
No worries, no worries. Okay, I'm just moving on to the next question. What is the subject? So some of these questions are coming from yesterday's form that we had asked to send.
Okay.
Uh, so the other next question is, what is the subjectivity of clean code? How does one take decision based on different kind of priorities?
Uh, the subjectivity of clean. I mean, what is the second question? Like what was the second line? How do you take distance?
The second line is, how does one take decisions based on different kind of priorities?
Okay. So I think this is coming from where you want to push the code first to the production earlier.
Actually, there's a follow-up to it. It's
Yeah.
in the context of he or she is asking, I have opinions where clean code and TDD are not important when you're doing on a hackathon style project.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So see, completely agree. If Geektrust today goes down, and Krishnan is not able to uh, uh, give candidates to companies, he's going to sit on my head. I'm not going to look at clean code at that point of if it's a bug, I will probably fix it immediately and then push to production, right? I don't care about clean code at that point of time. But what I will do is, once that issue is resolved, I will go back, I'll look at that fix and try to see if I can improve it, and put a better fix. So obviously customer first. If anything is sitting on your head, it doesn't matter what clean code or TDD or anything it is. You're always going to fix the issue first, and that should be the priority. But you should be also be open to come back and improve that fix whenever you get time, right? That's the philosophy we follow at Geektrust. And I think, personally, I also feel that is how it should be. Because if that fix is sitting idle, and it's a hack, then nobody knows what it is. And if I fix it and I move on from that project, and then it doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. And I also want to call out that, in the real, what we are trying to do is we are trying to give a platform for you to showcase your skills, right? And here we are not pressurizing you saying you have to submit it within 2 hours. So here, take your time and showcase your skills. In the real world, based on the context, you need to decide what you have to do. In this case, it's a question of, showcasing your skills. So take time and showcase with good code. There are a bunch of questions around how does Geektrust work for newbies, for people shifting career, women coming back from a break, looking for a job, etc. So I'll answer some of that. This particular session, we intentionally kept it for people who have experience in writing code, because when we sent the form to register, the average years of experience of people were 5 years. So if you are a newbie and the session went over your head, apologies, but we did target this session towards experienced developers. We can do another session for fresher folks later on, but that will be probably at a different level of complexity. Okay. That there are a couple of folks who are asking about how to, now going away a little bit from your session, Dhanush, about how to earn the build badge.
Yeah. So the build badge, if you so the important thing of build badge, like I showed in the thing, right? We have a main.java file, and then we have a run.sh script which executed it. So the build badge essentially means you shouldn't submit only your source code, right? Um, there is no point in submitting only the source, writing only the source in production, right? Your code should compile, your code should test, your code should be finally made into an executable. So that is where we use build tools. For Java, we use Maven or Gradle. For Python, there are pip and setup.py. For C Sharp, they have their own inbuilt .NET tool. So there are various tools along with various languages. But some of these for some of the languages, it's not out of the box. So you need to add those tools. For example, Java comes independently. You can run Java independently without a build tool. So you are forced to add something like a Maven or a Gradle. So you have to add it, and then you run Maven clean install, and then you realize that an executable is made. So you need to add those extra files for any case. But whereas for Node.js, it's inbuilt, right? Package, when you create a Node project, package.json is automatically available. You don't need to do anything. So we have a good documentation there. Just go to the GitHub. I'll put that link here. Go to GitHub and then read about it. It should be there, done. So if you do whatever is mentioned in that step, you will get the build badge. Many times I see Python folks having a problem because sometimes there are no real dependencies needed in Python for solving your problems. So in that case, don't add. Some people add, what they will do is they will add requirements.txt file and then add unnecessary dependencies. Don't add unnecessary dependencies. Just blank requirements.txt file is enough. So just but of course, if you are using a dependency, add that. I'm not prohibiting that, but you add that and then run it. It will work smoothly. A lot of people have got it correctly. Things go wrong when they add unnecessary dependencies. For Golang and C Sharp, I think it's inbuilt. You don't need to do anything. For Ruby, you might need to add a gem file or a bundler file and things like that. So I will just post it here. Everything is clearly mentioned there. So just go through it. Next.
Yeah. So I'm just going to take one question that has come up, and I think multiple people usually tend to do this. So I have used a Python pandas data frame to complete this code. I saw the output in my code, but in your website, it's mentioned my code doesn't work.
Yeah. So you do not need a see, most of the Geektrust coding problem, we do not need high-end libraries to implement. All of them can be implemented without, most of the cases, without using any external libraries. So so you don't need pandas. Actually, pandas is a huge library framework which makes things easy, of course, but you don't need that library to do a problem like MyMoney or a water management or anything. um, so just stick to Python basics, remove pandas, and then see it will work. Pandas has a so pandas, so all your code we run in containers, in Docker containers. So what happens is when you use pandas, it needs a lot of .c some libraries and all, I think. So that are not there in the containers which we spin off. So that's mostly the why it fails is what I think. But yeah, pandas is not at all needed for any of our problems. And also no need of any databases. So just to add that, since that has come up.
Okay, I think we are almost 10 minutes over time. So we're going to wind up the session. Dhanush, we also got a lot of feedback in the chat as to how we can improve the session. So I'll discuss that with you later. So thanks, folks, for all of that. We will be sending you a feedback form. We just want to know if we should continue to do sessions like this. Will it benefit you and folks like you all? This is the first time we are doing a live coding round. So please do fill in the form if you think, we should continue to do this. And all the feedback that you have, do fill that in as well. Uh, Thanks once again for coming over on a Saturday morning and spending time with us. Thanks all. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.